Welcome, everyone. Uh, very happy to be going live tonight. We got a huge guest in store for you. A good friend of mine, Mr. Greg Six. Um, he's a little delayed at the moment. He told me he got stuck in Orlando traffic, so we'll get started here as soon as he shows up. Uh, if you haven't been on one of my lives before, let me share just a little bit of detail about who I am. My name's Jeff Lanham. I help people reverse symptoms of insulin resistance. And yeah, so we're live on Facebook now. So welcome, Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, please let us know in the comments. Um, I'll be able to see those and interact with anyone in the comments. So yeah, just tagging a couple of people here in the live, and we will get started. So again, my name is Jeff Lanham. Uh, welcome in. I see we got 4 viewers. Let us know in the chat if you're watching from Facebook or YouTube. Um, hi, Donna. Welcome in. I'm Shell. Um, Greg is running just a little late, so I'm going to share my story real quick. Um, I'm someone who struggled with type 2 diabetes for 20 years. And if you can, let me know if everybody can hear me okay. I'm using this new setup, so hopefully it's okay. Um, I struggled with type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, stage 1 kidney failure, horrible neuropathy pain. I was extremely overweight at 300 plus pounds. Okay, Donna says she's watching from Facebook. Kathy Mail Avery, Facebook. All right, awesome. So I was on max dosage of metformin and Januvia and was prescribed Trulicity at the end of 2022. My A1C was 9.4. As I said, I was having trouble with my kidneys from all the years of high blood pressure and just all the medication I was on. Hi, Jessica. Welcome in. Um, hopefully, Greg is. Uh, he just sent me a text message, so maybe he is. Maybe he's got the wrong link. I'm not really sure. Uh, so we do this with Restream instead of on Facebook itself because there's so many issues with Facebook sometimes. So I'm going to. Uh, I was trying to add Greg, but it's not. He's not showing up in my. I want to make sure that I sent him the right link. So excuse me for just a second here. Hey, we got sometimes we have issues, right? So um, let me. Oh, let's see here. Do we have? There he comes. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Mr. Greg Six on here. Hey, buddy, your camera's turned the wrong way.
There you are. You're muted.
Can you hear me? Greg is frozen. No, your reception is horrible. Is anyone else noticing Greg is frozen? Sorry for the technical issues, folks. Um, Greg is frozen, and I don't know. Hopefully, he will try to reconnect. Uh, not sure what his issue is, but he is frozen. So, uh, hey, you gotta love social media and technology, right? Can everyone else hear me okay? He was saying I was muted and he couldn't hear me. Um, so I don't know what was up with that. Okay, so someone did say they can hear me. Um, I don't know. Let's see here. Okay, Greg's trying to come back. We'll see if he has anything figured out here. Greg, can you hear me? Well, this isn't going too well. Let's see here. What in the world? We have done this multiple times and have never had an issue with Mr. Greg Six, but for some reason, he is not. Can you hear me, Greg? Your connection is horrible, sir. um, wow, never, never experienced this before. Greg has always had great internet service and great reception, and but anyway, we'll get it figured out. Sorry for the delay. Um, I don't know what's up. But anyhow, as I was saying, I suffered with all those things for 20 years. I was on all the medication. I was dealing with all those problems and following the guidelines that my doctors gave me, and nothing ever worked. Now, I have to take a little bit of the responsibility myself, because I wasn't the best patient. I wasn't um, maybe always doing the right things, eating the right foods, or I was snacking maybe too much. Um, and I later found out that was because I was insulin resistant. The medication was masking the blood sugar, but if you're type 2 diabetic, they make us believe that we have a sugar problem, and it's actually an insulin problem. And once I fixed my insulin resistance, everything improved. We'll try this with Greg again.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better. So how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
I don't know what was actually going on there, but I appreciate you joining us. I know you was in a little bit of a Orlando traffic jam there a little while ago, and some technical issues. But hey, we got it working now. So I thank you for agreeing to do this. Anybody who's been on my lives knows that Greg has been on a lot of lives with me, not only on Facebook, but on TikTok. And we've probably done close to between in person presentations and Facebook and TikTok. We've probably done close to 100 presentations or lives together, but tonight is going to be totally different.
Because I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm not prepared. I've got nothing for you, buddy.
So yeah, tonight that's kind of what I wanted, was a raw, unfiltered interview with you. Instead of us just sitting here going through science and all these things and talking about all these great success stories and stuff that people have seen us do a bunch of times. Um, Tonight, I kind of wanted to maybe just ask some questions, you know, let people know a little bit about you, maybe how you found the protocol and etc. And then uh, give us a little bit of your business story as well. So we'll start this off with welcome, everyone. Sorry for the technical issues. Greg, I'm glad you made it on here. I guess let's start off with just maybe let us know a little bit about Greg Six. Where's Greg Six from? How old are you? Like, are you a dad? Are you are you married? All these kinds of things. So
Yeah. I what am I? Just turned 56. I found this protocol uh, 3.5 years ago,
okay,
and then started using it. I was I just started. No, I didn't just start. Layla and I were dating, and she had come over to the States, and on my counter there was many of you have seen the packaging that the protocol comes in, and I hadn't started it yet. It was just sitting on my counter. And it's funny because that's one of the things we say to people. Now, when that box comes, you can't just let that sit on your counter. It doesn't work through osmosis. You got to open it up, and there's a QR code in there. You need to do whatever you need to do, and you got to watch those instructions. You got to get on the phone with us. Well, I was a horrible example of that because I did not, and that sucker sat there for a week. And then Layla was there, and there's just a random cardboard box sitting on my counter, and she said, "What's this?" And I said, "Oh, it's just something for my neuropathy. After you go home, I'll get into that." The heck we will. We're doing it right now. And she goes and gets the scissors and opens this box up, and I'm like, but you got to be careful if you're gonna get engaged to a nurse. They got their way.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess with that being said, um, maybe tell us, like, where were you at when you found this? Health wise, like what all were you dealing with? You mentioned neuropathy, but was that kind of the extent of your problems, or were there more things going on?
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff going on. I want to say it was beginning, but it really wasn't beginning because I was dealing with neuropathy pain for about 5 years. Well, when the pain starts with neuropathy, it didn't just start that day. You've been eating horrible stuff for a long time, and for me, it would have been for a lifetime because I was a fast food junkie. I liked anything that tasted good. From ice cream to candy to if I'm going to eat something that's meat or vegetables, it's probably going to have a sauce on it,
Yeah, yeah,
which we know boils down to sugar. So I wasn't a good example. My weight, I'm 5'9", so I'll call that average height. And I would go up and down between, probably 170 is where I should have been, and 200 for me was big. I realize that's not the case if you're tall and if you're broad-shouldered and have a skeletal system bigger than mine. But for my frame, 200 pounds, as you saw in that picture that I saw that you put in your video, my face was really, really, whether it was inflamed or fat, I thought it was fat, and I knew I needed to lose weight. So then in my belly was the same way, and I had the man boobs and the back fat to match it. And that's just, I was just used to that.
yeah. You can see. Whoa, I didn't want to do that. There we go. you can see what he was talking about here. Now, obviously, that's not a real clear picture, but you can
And
see.
the reason it's not clear is because I didn't allow people to take pictures of me when I was at that state. That's one of the rare ones. And if you saw the whole picture, it's a Christmas family picture of all my siblings and their spouses and their kids, and we're all standing. You can see I'm kind of turned sideways, and it's because my ex is standing in front of my belly because I'm trying to manipulate how I'm going to be in this picture. And
Right. So I want everybody in the comments right now, if you've been in that scenario where you didn't want anybody to take your picture, like you were kind of, I don't want to say ashamed of how you look, but you're self-conscious, right?
I
Of how
certainly
you
wasn't
look.
happy about it.
Yeah. I was I was dealing with a lot of that too, but I was always out in front of the public as a pro wrestler, and I just kind of learned to deal with it. But so many people, when they start this protocol that we're all talking about and doing, they're like, I don't have any like before pictures because I never let anybody take my picture. I was always the one taking pictures. So I
Yeah.
totally get where you're coming from there. Hey, Leanne. Uh, yeah. So yeah, absolutely, Greg. Go ahead.
So I was dealing with, high blood pressure, based on the way that the medical system looked at things and what they told me at the time. I had high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high triglycerides. I had brain fog. I knew I was living with brain fog. They didn't have to tell me that. I had poor circulation. I mean, that poor circulation turns into, your achy legs. You hear where you're supposed to kind of sleep with your legs elevated. Well, that didn't feel good either. Laying with my legs down, turning my feet sideways, but none of that would help. Then eventually I got for me, it came in layers. So the first thing I accepted was, I got to pull the comforter off. So for you neuropathy people, you know what I'm talking about. That comforter, you can pull that right off the corner and flip that back. And then before long, you're going to pull the blanket back because you're just accepting this isn't getting any better, you know. And then before long, I'm pulling the sheet. I'm just letting my feet stick out the end. And I didn't know at the time. This is what a lot of us go through. This is, we would call it just part of the aging process. Uncle Fred, he had neuropathy. He had type 2 diabetes. This is just getting old. No, this is you are aging. There's no doubt about that. You are aging, but this isn't happening because you're getting old. Because we've all seen people who are lifting weights and they're exercising, they're walking, they're running, they're active, and they're 80, and they're in better shape than I was in my 40s.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I totally get that. And when you talk about neuropathy, so that's what got me when I seen your video, right? So tell us a little bit about that. Like, how did you find this protocol that has obviously changed your life? So you could see that, folks, from the before and after picture. Um, you know, but I've I've been on 6 mile hikes through volcanoes with this guy. And neither one of us, the year before that, would have even attempted to do something like that. So, how did you stumble upon this amazing protocol that we're always talking about?
One of the adaptations that I went through, realizing that I was in a separation and divorce window of time, was how am I going to fill all that time? I had retired, sold the businesses. I knew I was going to do something again someday, but I knew that I had some years where I didn't have to be too worried about where the money was going to come from. So I was golfing, but it's not fun golfing with neuropathy. You got to use a cart, and then you're swinging that club around, and you lose your balance if you're not careful.
Yeah.
And my golf game, I was golfing 4 or 5 times a week during that phase. Now, if you golf 4 or 5 times a week, you should be pro in a very short period of time, and I was not. So that was frustrating. And then I was napping, Jeff. I had implemented napping into my structure after I sold those businesses, and I thought this was good because you should be able to take a mid-afternoon nap. And I thought I was just getting older and I was tired at the time. Then I was like 49. But what it really was, Jeff, was I ate a lunch that was bigger than I should have been eating. All the stuff I should have been eating, I had to go home because I was in the middle of a food coma. So,
Yeah.
you know,
That's we talk about that a lot, that afternoon crash that so many people deal with, and chalk it up to either aging or they're overworked or stressed or just tired, right? Just need a nap, didn't sleep well. And that often comes from years of insulin resistance. So if you was to narrow it down to one thing, I've heard your story many times. Maybe somebody going to watch this in the future, the replay hasn't. I knew you had the high blood pressure, you had the high cholesterol, high triglycerides, inflammation problems. You were 30 pounds overweight, and the neuropathy. Like, what was the one thing that bothered you the most? That was like, I don't even want to go on if it has to continue this way. What
From
was the
a
turning point?
Yeah, from a pain standpoint, it was absolutely the neuropathy. But my dad died of a heart attack. His 9 uncles, his whole life, he was telling me he would probably die of a heart attack. It was almost like it was self-fulfilling prophecy, because since they all had heart disease related problems, and then his grandfather on the other side, his mother's side, he died of a heart attack. So this was normal, and I didn't want to buy into that. So part of it could have been, I'm just a mental block. I'm not going to think about the heart disease stuff. But clearly, I was well down that path. But my feet hurt so bad. I just, and that kept getting worse over the years. And then there's the metformin, there's the gabapentin, there's shots between your toes. But I wasn't going to do any of that, because I was doing some insurance work for a time, and I was aware that people older than me complain all the time that stuff doesn't work. So before I even got to that age or that problem, I was aware that people that are in their 50s and older aren't happy with how the medications work when it comes to diabetes and neuropathy and all that.
It's just masking a symptom. And what I was saying before you come on, when we was having the technical issues, is most people that are dealing with type 2 diabetes, they've been told or believe that it is a sugar problem, right? But because that's what the medication they prescribe you focuses on, is that sugar number, that A1C, that glucose.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem isn't the sugar. The problem is your insulin, folks. And I'm so glad I found that out, because now, 3 years later, I mean, I would possibly be losing toes at this point, or, I had horrible circulation issues in my leg. And once I fixed insulin, those problems started going away. So, was that the case for you? Like, did you know about? Because when I always heard about insulin, I just thought that was something type 1 diabetics took, right? I didn't know that it could cause all these health problems. How did that come about for you?
Yeah, I was a difficult patient for my doctor, because I had 1 foot more on the naturopathic side, but I didn't like that particular doctor's ideas of what he thought I should do, and what he was suggesting wasn't necessarily going to help my foot pain either. And then I didn't like what the medical system, at the MD side was saying, because they were just saying, we'll put you on meds, almost like it was a gift to me. But I knew it wasn't going to help. So I was caught between a rock and a hard place. And then I'm one night, when I say I had those hobbies, another hobby I developed was TikTok. I never knew TikTok. I was aware of the name. I knew the word. It was.
You knew there was an app called TikTok.
Exactly.
Right?
And this is the summary of what I knew that it was. My friend Becky, her and her kids would do dance videos on TikTok, and they were funny. They were cute, So to me, I guess I would have thought that's what it was. And then all of a sudden, somebody tells me, watch this video. I put the app on my phone. I'm watching this stuff. And then before long, they're just showing you all kinds of crazy stuff. And then I realize, all the stuff that you don't care about, if you just start, saying you don't like that particular stuff, the app will learn you. The algorithm will learn you, and it will start, excuse me, showing you things more relevant to you. I didn't completely know what that meant, but I had owned an internet marketing firm from 2010 to 2017. So I understood conceptually probably how it was working, but I didn't realize how well they had developed that your phone is listening to you and that you're being marketed to. I'd heard that, but now I was living it in real time because I never told anybody about all my health problems. My family, because what are you gonna do? You gonna cry on their shoulder? It's like, and I was in a separation. My kids were grown. My ex was gone, so I'm living alone. Who is there to cry to? So I wasn't talking out loud about it, but then I was having a conversation with that doctor, that neuropathic doctor, naturopathic doctor, and we were talking about it. And it was right around that time. It's like the whole world suddenly got neuropathy, and I'm hearing about all of it on my TikTok.
Funny how that works, right?
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
And I didn't, now I'm on the inside for years. I know almost everybody, on the inside. And now I can look back and remember I was seeing this person's video and this person's video and this person's video, but I didn't know that at the time. And I knew they were talking about related stuff, but I was just scrolling by, maybe they were a little more into a certain niche that I didn't connect as well. And it kind of programs you. You're on this, if they don't get me in 3 seconds, I'm scrolling. So I wasn't going very deep. And then there was this one guy, Boogie, and he was just telling a story. He's just walking through the forest. He's got his shirt off. He looks like he could run up a mountain backwards in a snowstorm. I mean, it looks like he's in great shape. And he's talking about how he's a type 1 and he's a type 2, or was a type 2, is and always will be a type 1. But then he got rid of his neuropathy. Well, boy, that got my attention. And I watched that whole video. So to me, that was the turning point. That was the person that got my attention. And for me, and hopefully for those of you that are listening, you're taking this serious enough. If you're hurting the way I am, or if you've got neuropathy, you've got high blood pressure, cholesterol, triglycerides, brain fog, circulation, inflammation, type 2, thyroid problems, the list is long.
Right.
My solution was, I connect with that guy. I'm going to buy what he's doing right now. It didn't take any more thought than that because I did not have a better solution. Yeah. So I bought it. I mean, the big deal. It was $159 plus tax, and then I could go on subscription and never have to pay shipping. I'm like, well, great, I'll do that. They said I could cancel anytime, so why wouldn't I take their free shipping? I feel like I'm getting the better end of the deal there. Mm-hmm. And then it showed up, and then I picked it up off my front porch. I brought it into the house. I took it into the kitchen where I sat it on the counter. And I felt that I had done my part.
Did that fix your neuropathy?
It didn't, not a bit. It didn't improve at all.
So many people do that. I want to backtrack real quick because you were talking about family members, with heart disease and all this, and your dad just thought it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to die of a heart attack, which he ended up doing. But so many people that I talk to say, well, my dad had type 2 diabetes and my uncle had type 2 diabetes and my grandma had type 2 diabetes. It's genetic. I'm going to get type 2 diabetes. And I always tell people, we're led to believe that, right? Now, I'm not saying genetics doesn't play a part in your health and maybe some things you deal with, but understand that type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance specifically are not genetic diseases. These are not something that you are born with. These are lifestyle problems. And it took my stubborn butt 20 plus years to realize that. And when I did, like Greg said, I was scrolling TikTok. I had downloaded it to watch funny videos, kind of like you, right? And I'd seen one person talking about blood pressure and how they reversed it, and another person talking about their diabetes, and another person talking about they lost so much weight. And then I stumbled onto your video about neuropathy, and it made me stop and watch it again. And then I started looking at more and more content of people that I'd been seeing and realized you all were talking about the same protocol, which is probably what people are doing that watch you and I now, right? There's like, oh, they're talking about the same thing that this guy talked about and this lady talked about. And it just comes down to what you said. You resonated with Boogie, right? He touched on your pain point, and you were like, I don't care what it costs. What I'm doing now isn't working. Get it, like, I want it. Like, send it tomorrow, right? And that's the point that people have to be at to make a change like you did, or like I have, or so many others that we've helped. And that's why we do these kind of videos and lives. And I've started to do some of these interviews. I just interviewed Michelle earlier in the week, and I want to do this with people that have used this. But so, how long did it take you, Greg, from the time that Layla, your fiance, said, "No, you're starting this tonight"? Like, she opened the box and handed you the first packet. Like, how long did it take you to get results? And did you do anything extreme in that time? Like, were you counting calories or meal prepping or going on a crash diet or military style workouts, or what did that consist of for you?
No, it it there were different times when I would go through exercise. We had in the house I had prior to the divorce, we had a gym in the basement, and there were different times that I would work quite aggressively and bring that weight back down to where I thought it should be. But as soon as I got to where I wanted to be, I was so fed up with living that lifestyle of lack and limitation pertaining to food. I just put it all back on. You go right back to pizza and burgers and fries and overeating and not exercising. You gain it back quick. So depending on where I was at prior to receiving that system, I was either large Greg or small Greg. Once I got this protocol and I started going on it, I was at a time when in those 5 years, sometimes my feet would hurt worse and sometimes it wouldn't hurt so bad. It always hurt. It's just what level of hurt. And then it was getting worse predominantly, but kind of like a stock chart. It was trending up, but you'd get this. Well, now I realize it would depend what I'm eating.
Yeah.
If you're going to eat a bunch of glucose, it's gonna spike up, and then I think of it like termites. You eat all that sugar or pasta or pizza, same end result. Glucose rushes into the bloodstream. Well, as that goes down your legs, it's kind of like termites chewing on your nerve endings in your feet. At least that's what it feels like to me. You also mentioned the medical system referring to it as sugar, meaning your numbers.
Mm-hmm.
What's funny about it is the word is right, but the meaning is twisted. It's a sugar problem. It's just not the way they're talking about it. The sugar problem is what goes in here. The numbers, the way they're measuring it, isn't going to get you where you need to go. But I was noticing improvement. To your specific question, I noticed improvement in 3 days, and then I noticed more in the days to follow. In the second week, it was better. In the third week, it was better. And I tell the story that I wasn't the kind of person that really, I didn't want to walk around the house very bad. Go outside, walk around the exterior of just the house. Like, my feet hurt. I'd really rather just sit here in my recliner. That's what I was feeling the days prior. Yeah. But I also had it for 5 years, so I was toughing through it, and I was learning. Just put up with the pain. Put up with pain. You're a man. No one wants to hear you cry. Just keep going. So, would I golf? Yeah, I would go golfing, but I would hurt and I would use the cart. But then one day I think I could walk around the block. I think I could walk 2 blocks the next day. And then all of a sudden I'm walking a mile. Now, did it take me 2 weeks to get up to a mile? Maybe, but it was happening quickly because it turned into 2 miles, then it turned to 3 miles. And then my youngest brother, there's 5 years between me and he. And he said, let's walk around the lake. And we're talking about a specific lake in Traverse City, Michigan, Boardman Lake. And this is crazy talk. I mean, it's a 5-mile lap. So the obvious answer is the type of thing you would only say to a sibling, and it would be something obnoxious and probably inappropriate. No, I'm not doing that. And he was just kind of like, well, he was going to do it anyway. Well, he's 5 years younger and not as smart as me. So yeah, of course he was going to go do it. No, he's really intelligent, but that's my joke with him. I'm the oldest one, so I'm the smart one. Just enough to get under their skin. But he was going to go on that walk anyway. So I'm like, well, I'll go. And then we just get talking and we go around that lake, and I get all the way. We completed 5 miles and we're still talking. I wasn't even thinking about my feet. I wasn't thinking about how far we walked. But by that time, I don't know how many weeks it had been. Maybe we were at the 6-week point, midway through the 3-month, 90-day period. And then we continued to do that as often as we could from that point on. It would be normal for us most days to go walk around that lake 5 miles. Wow. For, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, through the summer and into the fall. And once winter hit, we probably didn't do it much after that. And then I moved out of that city. But that became normal for me, and that was the wake up for me that I've got a lot more control over this than I realized. The neuropathy pain, don't focus on your neuropathy. The heart, don't focus on the heart. The brain fog, don't focus on the brain. If it's your hands have neuropathy and tingling and numbness, don't focus on that. You got to focus on your gut. And I didn't know that. That's totally a foreign concept. Focus on getting your gut health right. Get your metabolic functioning the way it was designed. Once you do that, people forget this. They weren't alive at the time, but before John D. Rockefeller, before hospitals being put on in every city, all over the place, a doctor had a little black bag and a horse, and would go from town to town, and whatever they had in the bag is stuff that they had learned was helpful.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a shot for everything. They didn't have a pill for everything.
Penicillin, pretty much. That was it.
Say again?
Penicillin, pretty much. That was it back then, right?
Maybe so.
Shot of whiskey, and you'll be better in a few days.
Yeah. And whiskey. I've seen people with prescriptions where the doctor wrote whiskey right on the prescription.
Yep.
So that it reinforced for me that your body was designed with an immune system, and it's the immune system that's going to really do a lot for you if you're functioning in an optimal way. And most of us don't, because the food and the pharma industry, it's like they've got a revolving door. It's so much so that if you're paying attention, you realize they moved a lot of the pharmacies right into the grocery stores so that you can go buy the food in the aisles that you probably shouldn't be shopping in. You buy the food in those aisles that's going to make you need a prescription. And then that prescription is going to help manage the pain so you can keep buying the food from the food industry. Now,
funny how that works out.
First one to figure that out, but when it all clicks and you start seeing some of the imagery we've been exposed to with how the food system works, and you're looking at it's like a pie chart, and all the different companies are owned by these big outfits. There's like a dozen or so companies that own hundreds of all of the places we shop all around the world, and it's just a mechanism. I'm not trying to say it's good or bad or indifferent, but it's a spider web. And if you're not focused and paying attention, just like Jeff and I, you're going to get caught up in drowning your pain and your bad day with a
bag of Doritos and a
Swiss Miss pudding bar.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people ask, and I want to get your answer with this because most people are different. What's a typical day? Like when Greg wakes up, is he eating breakfast? Is he having a bowl of cereal or waffles? Is he having coffee loaded with cream and like, what's a typical day for you? Maybe quickly what it was before and now what it is today.
Yeah, what it was before was eat whatever I want to eat. It really didn't have much more thought. What's in the fridge? What's in the closet? And it's usually boxes and bags with barcodes.
Yep.
Which means it's processed crap and sugar.
Quick, though,
Quick.
Right?
Absolutely. And drive-throughs are convenient. So I was a drive-through maniac. Now, I live alone. Layla is in Brazil, so when we see each other, she's on vacation, and I'm ready to be on vacation when she comes. So I like the protocol because it is forgiving. You can put one or two balance packets in front of almost anything and justify that it's not going to be as bad. And if this is just temporary, you have some forgiveness. Now you got to be careful. You can't be crazy. But I'm 3 years into this, and I've been able to keep the weight off, and I don't feel like I'm dieting. And for me, part of the reason I don't feel like I'm dieting is because if I go see Jeff, we're going to go to the Mexican restaurant, and I'm going to eat a big burrito. But there's strategy to what we do. When I know those kind of events are happening, when I know I'm going to go out to eat, with Layla, we're going to go to Olive Garden. I'm probably going to have tuna fish and raspberries for lunch. Try to eat hardly anything, just enough to get by. Drink that balance, eat that down, not eating much at all for carbs. The raspberries the fruits have the most fiber in them. So I'm not doing much damage for the first meal. For the second meal, on those occasions, I call it 80-20. 20% of the time, I'll do that kind of stuff. But the 80%, I'm pretty boring. I like what I like. I keep it in my house if I like it and I want to be eating it. I choose now. I don't buy stuff and bring it to my house if I don't want to be eating it. And I'm talking about with this protocol. So, if we go through my cupboards, you don't find all the stuff you used to, all of the boxes of treats and bags of chips, and but if we go to Vegas and you and Michelle are there and some of our other friends are there, well, I'm absolutely going to want to go find Apple Crisp somewhere.
Yeah. So, um, before we get into the last part of this, that's exactly what I like about it too, because I mean, I'm a pizza guy, right? And I I could eat pizza every day. And before, when I would do that, my blood sugar would be in the 300s all the time. And now I can have a few slices of pizza, two or three, and maybe my blood sugar will get to 140, 150 at the most. And it's right back down. It's not hovering there for 6 hours like it used to. Um, and you say it all the time, 80-20, 80% of the time, eat healthier. The other 20%, give yourself the freedom to have the things you love. Have you felt like you've been on some extreme diet during this, or like you've been depriving yourself? Because to stick with something for 3.5 years, like, to me, it has to fit into your lifestyle, right? And uh, you know, I'd done extreme diets before. I had tried fasting without the help of a protocol like this, to where 21 days in, you're like, I want to gnaw my arm off because all I've had is chicken and broccoli and water. And but we don't do that on this with this system, and that's what I try to get people to understand. Um,
That's why it works for me. It works for me because I'm genuinely, sincerely, I'm not dieting. There's structure to what I eat, but the structure is more around understanding what makes my blood glucose spike, what makes all of our blood glucose spike. I'm not unique, whether you're type 2 diabetic or not. We're not unique in that when we eat stuff to spike our glucose, it spikes, therefore your insulin spikes 100% of the time. But from a food standpoint, my normal, I mean, I'm eating eggs, I'm eating meat, I'm eating ground beef, I'm eating fish. There's broccoli and green beans in there. Um, there's fish in there.
Greg, Michelle made me a pizza the other night in the air fryer
Yeah,
with
yeah,
mozzarella and eggs as the crust, with just pepperoni and sausage on top with more mozzarella.
yeah. I've heard.
No, no dough, no nothing, and it was like I was eating a pizza. I mean, I dipped it in zero sugar marinara, right? And it
Yeah.
like it was like a personal sized pizza.
Yeah.
I mean, before I'd have been, "Shh, give me the phone. I'm going to call the pizza shop that's 2 miles down the road." But
Yeah.
when you learn what those foods do to your body and you're trying to better yourself, you start making better choices, and all of a sudden your taste buds start to change. Like mine changed immensely. I mean, I've always been a steak and meat potatoes kind of guy, but I always loved the carbs too.
Yeah.
Uh, so what we're talking about with this protocol, it's natural, it's simple, it's sustainable. It's got 20 plus clinical trials and available in 60 plus countries. If you want information about this product, like reach out to one of us. We all have links in our profiles where you can go to the manufacturer and buy it. But I want to change this story now because
Before you change, I want to say one last thing on this topic that I wanted to just ring home for everyone. So
okay,
everything you've heard me talk about right now makes it sound like, wow, there's a lot of food freedom. There's a lot of food freedom. There is, if you're putting one or two of these in front of it, depending on how liberal you're being with yourself. And I'm really only talking to new people right now. If
hmm
you've been around for a while, you figure it out, you understand what you're doing. But for new people thinking about coming into this, you got to have the discipline to be putting these one of these in front of meal one, and if you can, you should put one in front of meal two. But the timing is also incredibly important. You'll learn more about that, but understand you're going to consume all of your food in 2 meals. I think that is a big part of what makes this work so well for me, is because I did kick all the snacks out. I'm not a snacker. I eat well in those 2 meals.
hmm
But that you'll hear people say, well, it's a 16-8. Well, the problem with referring to it as a 16-8 is you think you got an 8-hour eating frenzy window and you're just munch fest for 8 hours. No, in 8 hours, you're supposed to eat 2 meals. So I don't even articulate it that way. I say I got 1 hour to eat lunch. For me, that's usually getting between 11, 12, 1, 2 o'clock. And then I got 5 hours gap between whenever I finish that till the next time I'm going to eat at the earliest. And then I'm going to, whatever that is, they call it 7 o'clock. And I got an hour to eat that. So if I'm consuming all my day's food in 2 hours, that gives me 22 hours that my body consumes stored fat for fuel. And because I keep my insulin down here instead of up here, my body is now metabolically capable of burning its fat. Some of that might have gone over your head, but I wanted you all to make sure you hear that, and I wanted it to be on the recording.
yeah, because if you're munching that whole 8 hours, you eat and then you have a snack and then maybe you're drinking some calories and then you have another snack and then you eat dinner and you think, well, it's still in my eating window. I can have, another little snack before my eating window's over. Well, you're totally destroying everything you've done during that 16, 18-hour fast, whatever it is you've done. So, yeah, that's very key is 2 meals within an 8-hour window, not, oh, I can graze that whole 8 hours and everything will be great because
Yeah.
it won't.
And
It
you
won't
and you all saw my before picture, but I'm not, there's no rounded here. I'm wearing a sweatshirt, but I don't carry the weight you saw me carrying in that picture. And this is 3 years. This is just me doing what I've told you. My lunches a lot of times are a can of tuna fish, albacore white tuna fish I get at Costco, and raspberries or blueberries. Because I don't need a lot more, because I'm going to have my freedom. I call it freedom, but it's 80-20. Understand? It's mostly not freedom. It's eating, it's eating carbs, protein, healthy fats. And then if I'm going to have some carbs, I'll have a little bit at the end. And for me, it's more about the taste than devouring a piece of pie. It's, if I can have a bite of this and a bite of this and a bite of this and get some of that taste satisfaction, I don't personally need to be eating a bag of Doritos.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guide us where we need to be thinking and talking.
So I guess where I want to take this now. So I just want to say to anyone that hears this in the future, if you want information on the protocol, reach out to us in Instant Messenger. we definitely, that's how we would like to communicate with people from Facebook, is through instant messenger, right? Don't just put a comment in, because a lot of times you don't get notified if we reply to your comment. Message us, whoever it may be, and we'll get you the information you're looking for. All right. Now I want to switch this to, what made you to decide to actually make this a business, make this a career?
Yeah, for me personally, it wasn't a hard thing to figure out. I'd been using it. I didn't know there was a business side to it. It's not the kind of business where you're trying to go convince everybody, to do something they don't want to do.
Absolutely.
Boogie didn't even call me for a month or more. Not that he should have, not that I needed him to. I didn't reach out to him. And in fact, after I was done watching the video, I couldn't even remember how to get a hold of him, because then when he called me and my phone rang, I didn't recognize the number, but it was from Utah. So I don't even know why I answered it. I normally wouldn't. But then he told me who it was. Oh, I'm so glad to talk to you, man. This is amazing. And I mean, before he was saying much of anything, I'm just singing its praises and telling how thankful I am that he made that video. So I can see now where he felt appropriate, that it was appropriate that he could mention the business side of things to me. We're not trying to hide it from anyone, but it's much more about their health than it is about trying to rope somebody into some, sneaky business that you won't talk about. These platforms, we got to be careful what we say and how we say, so that we don't get in trouble doing things that they don't allow us. So that makes some people wonder, well, why aren't you just telling us what it is? These are social platforms. They have a specific design to get us to be social. So what you hear Jeff and I doing, if this was HGTV, or if this was the Home Shopping Network, well, heck, we'd be, we'd just be selling. But that's not the way you do this. You're much more social about it. You point to where it's at, you allude to where it's at, then they go find it, read about it. If they want it, they buy it. But we're not going to be vague. Anybody would be thrilled for you to put in their Facebook Messenger, I'd love to just have a 10-minute conversation with you, Jeff. Jeff would love to talk to you for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And if texting works. But for a lot of people, they just, I find that they're shocked I'm willing to talk to them. So for me, why did I do the business? I've owned 2 motels, a video store, an ice cream shop, rental properties, an internet marketing firm. I had done investing in different things. So for me, the idea of making my money grow, it's just always been part of who I am. So when I had amazing results with this protocol, and then I start realizing, 9.3 people out of 10 are metabolically broken. Well, to me, that just shows the demand. If everyone's as bad as me and worse, they need to know about this stuff. My goodness, why would I not tell them? Why would I hold this information in? My mom died of cancer at 56. I'm 56 now. Dad died at 65. It's amazing how close 65 is. I've always been a young guy, and all of a sudden now I'm 56. 65, it doesn't sound that old anymore.
It's not too far away, is it?
So to me, I feel time is of the essence. These people need to know, and the system is never going to embrace this company and distribute this out to everybody and take it out of your Social Security. It ain't going to happen. You're going to have to want it bad enough to go find it. So it's not hard to find, but
right.
you got to.
Let me interject this, because the way we share this, it's kind of like, if you come to Ohio, Greg, and I take you to some awesome restaurant, right? Somewhere you've never been and you love it. Are you going to go tell everybody you know, hey, if you ever get to Ohio, you need to go here to have dinner? Like, we all do that, right?
Right.
If you see a really cool movie, like, it's just awesome, right? Action, drama, all this. do you tell people you talk to, hey, if you need to check out this movie? Like, it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. Or if you buy some cool new gadget, some new phone, we all share this kind of stuff with people daily, and you don't ever get rewarded for it, right? That's all we do with this protocol is we just share it with people who are looking, and they're not really telling you they're looking, but they're looking. 9.3 out of 10 are looking for something because the meds aren't working for them.
Right.
And that's all we do is make it available.
So same quotes. Every 40 seconds, someone has a heart attack. Every 40 seconds. I mean, they're having the heart attack because they haven't been taking this for the last number of years.
All right. So when you decided to do this business, like, what has this done for you? What has it changed? And you don't have to mention any monetary stuff, but like, I know you've traveled all over the world, you've helped thousands of people, but just in your words, what has this done for you?
It definitely gives freedom. You know, some people have the idea that, well, you know, they're like, I'm not a get rich quick kind of person. I'm not either. I don't buy into that kind of stuff. Nobody gets rich quick. Stuff where I gotta go make a list and talk to all my family and friends. I'm not interested in that. I don't blame you. I'm not either. I didn't do that. You know, my cousin just reached out to me after 3 years. You know, I haven't been hiding that I'm doing this, but he reached out to me now. So I'm not trying to get anyone to do anything they don't want to do. But when you use the protocol, you find yourself willing to tell others who want to know. And if you're willing to do it on social media, that can bring a whole new audience. If you're willing to just tell the people that in your social network, in your day-to-day, they, you know, because it's not a sales thing. You know, you and I aren't selling, we're talking about our experience. So what is a brand new person that says, well, I want to be on the business side. I'd like to make recurring income. I'd love to do something month one and then get residual income on that permanently. Yeah, that's why I did it. That when I heard how it worked, I was dumbfounded because I bought a motel. I bought 2 of them because it continually pays again and again and again and again. But there's a lot of work to do if you own a motel. In this case, I find that, you know, yeah, I choose to work this consistently. But if I want to, at any given month, I just want to go to Brazil and hang out with Layla, I don't have to ask permission. You know, I don't have to work as hard. But I can go live from Brazil. There's internet over there. You know, there's people over there that are the 93.3% of them are metabolically broken too. So,
yeah. So, what would you say? Because you've owned other businesses, you've been entrepreneurial, but someone who's never been a business owner or never looked at something like this, like, what would you say to them if they're like, but I hate my job. I work, 12 hours a day. I always have to ask for time off. A lot of times I'm not given time off.
yeah.
And I'm never going to make the money I need to retire, right? I mean, that's where I was at, right? I'm like, I make pretty good money, but because of circumstances before, I'm never going to be able to retire. I'm going to have to work until I die, and now that is changing because of this.
I'm glad you mentioned retirement. So for all of you that ask yourself this honestly, if your income stopped tomorrow because of your health, because of whatever, and you weren't able to work anymore, can you do that? Do you have the ability? Have you saved enough? Have you invested enough? If you can, certainly this isn't something you have to do. You're set. But most of you aren't in that position. Now let me ask it differently. If you ever want to retire, do you have the ability? Is there a plan in place now so that you can retire on whatever plan you have in mind. Most of you are going to say no to that too, because that's just the way this world works. It's hard to save money. It's hard to know how to invest. All investments don't work out. You got to be prepared to have some win and some lose, and then you still got to keep doing the thing. Why is this amazing? Because 9.3 people out of 10, they need this. They might be skeptical, but we can help them through their skepticism. They don't have to let go of the skepticism. We say keep it. It's healthy. Be skeptical. But if this, then that. This is standard logic thinking. If this, then that. And then if not this, then what? So it's quick. You can quickly eliminate the one. If not this, then what? You don't have a plan. Otherwise, you'd be doing it. Okay, so then if this, then that. Well, you're going to tell people about the results that you had. You're going to tell them my story. You're going to tell them Jeff's story. You're going to tell them all the different stories of people that you'll meet. And then it boils down to, it's just simple. You're going to be dumbfounded how simple this is. Drink one of these in the morning. Drink one of these. These are the same thing, different flavors. One in the morning, one in the afternoon. That's not too hard, right? Mix one of those in something about like that. Not so hard. You can do it. Rip the top off, dump it in, shake it up. And then before your carb-heavy meal, eat the orange one, which comes in a couple different flavors too. Not that hard. So if that's all you do, if that's the work, if that's the big work, what do you do to get people to do that? You talk to your buddy Fred. Hey Fred, I'm doing this thing and it's working well. I'm noticing improvement. I've been on it for a few days, but I can feel a difference. You gotta listen to this guy Jeff. He gets on the internet and he does this. You can just watch there in absolute anonymity and just listen to the guy. There you go. You just heard how to build residual income. And let's say it works horribly. Let's say you are one of the worst people on the planet at getting people to watch us do a presentation. How much is your house payment? What if in the next 2 years, all you could build this up to is enough to make your house payment for you? Every month when the house payment is due, you've got a residual check coming in every single month on the 15th and every Friday. So sometimes you're getting paid 6 times a week. And what if it took you 2 years to build that into just enough to make the house payment so that no matter what, the business paid for the house payment? Now, if you want to get a little bit greedy, I mean, what if you could actually make $1,000 a week? And then eventually you could actually retire and you could live on that $1,000 a week after week after week after week. It's just options. Now, Jeff is a guy who decided to keep doing his job and he makes money with this. And, you know, you pay your house off.
Right.
I mean, how many people have that option working a part-time job a couple hours a day when you can squeeze it in?
Yeah.
To me, that's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the last thing I want to talk about is, and I want your perspective on this because you've had other businesses. That's why I wanted to ask you these questions. With those businesses, did you have overhead?
Oh yeah, yeah. You've got
Did
debt.
you have employees?
Employees. I had to high. I had with two different companies. I had 40 employees.
Did you have to send the bank a check every month because you had debt?
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah. Did you have inventory like when you had the ice cream shop and all those type things?
Yeah, ice cream melts if the freezer quits working. Just so you know, I've experienced it. Nothing like big
the
gallon
hotel, the plumbing leaks, right? The hot water heater goes out. The
toilet stop working. Showers leak. People do crazy things in the bedroom we can't talk about, but end up costing you a lot of money.
Yeah. So if you're thinking, I would love to own my own business, understand with owning your own business in that sense, you've got overhead, insurance, employees, unemployment benefits you got to pay. You got, if people call off work, guess who most of the time is covering those shifts, right? You got inventory, you got all these things. Do you have any of that with this business, Greg?
No. And let me paint a really graphic picture quickly. At 25 years old, for 5 years, I saved up $55,000 just working a regular sales job. My ex and I, we just saved and saved and saved for 5 years. We put a down payment on a motel, and at 25 years old with zero motel experience, the people we bought it from drove away in the motorhome after 7 days of training us. And we're 25 years old. We're $1 million in debt, and we put our life savings as a down payment. Giddy up, let's go. 23 years later, it worked out. It was a great thing. It was wonderful. So glad I did it. This business, well, let's use round numbers. So that business made about $100,000 a year profit. Okay. In the later years, in the beginning, there wasn't as much, but in the later years. And then I had an internet marketing firm, same thing, about $100,000. So at the height of my career, making a couple $100,000, that was where it was at. I was happy. I had time flexibility. I was my own boss. This business cost you less than $1,600. And I was doing better by probably the 18-month mark here than owning two businesses that the world would say, wow, multi-million-dollar motel and an internet marketing firm. That was seemed like it was pretty woohoo. Look at me, look what I built.
Yeah.
This is so much more impressive, and all I do is help people get healthy, and I talk about this kind of stuff, and everything I talk about, I'm sorry, it's on one side, the other side's Spanish. Everything I talk about is on one side of this little placard. I'm one of the people who, I don't try to be the best at this. Maybe that seems counterintuitive, but the people I'm talking to feel like they don't have the ability to do what I do. So I don't want to be too impressive, because I don't want them to think I'm all that in a box of chocolates. I'm just a guy, and you all see what I do, and it isn't that difficult. Consistency is how the business works. Consistency is how the protocol works. So if you can just follow instructions that are pretty basic and you just do the thing, there's no reason a person couldn't pay their house off. There's no reason a person couldn't pay a car off, pay off debt. Start setting aside money, developing a plan so that you actually can retire, because this money is built on you bring on a customer one time. That customer lots of times is going to stay on for the rest of their life because it works. And you're going to make a monthly residual commission, or I should say recurring. I think recurring is a little more internet friendly than the other one. You're going to make a monthly recurring commission. And how many of those can you make? There's millions and millions of people that need what we are showing you, success, and we've got seemingly endless testimonials. So
yeah, with a
no,
regular job or regular business, you're capped, right? You're capped at how much money you can make. A regular job, you're only allowed to work so many hours. If you want to make more money, you got to work overtime, which is time away from your family and things like that. You got to be on their schedule, not your schedule. I mean, it's just, there's so many perks to this compared to traditional careers. Um, to the point that we've had brain surgeons, rocket scientists,
yeah,
and everywhere in between join this business and walk away from that kind of career.
nurses are some of the big career names we hear about. I'm never surprised anymore when I hear nurses and medical professionals walking away from their career coming here, because for one, they can double, triple, quadruple the money that they were making, and then they're not living on a pager. They're not living by somebody telling you got to come into work. There's an emergency.
Now you're really telling your age with talking about pagers. So
Yeah,
they don't even have those anymore.
And the reason I say pager is because Dr. Eric mentioned it, and I wondered if he's just saying that because that's he's my age. So I wonder if that's just in his head, or if he's still actually using a. I mean, I would think you'd get a text now, huh?
Yeah, probably so. So anyway, guys, it's been right at an hour. If you want to get any information, whether it's business-wise, whether it's your health and you want to look into the protocol, send us a message. We're happy to talk with anyone. I would much rather, instead of texting back and forth, just get on a phone call with you or get you on a Zoom call or something where we can explain it more deeply. And um, Greg, thank you for your time. I know I kind of threw you a curveball with this because I gave you no heads up of what we were doing or talking about. And that's kind of what I wanted. I just wanted your raw, unfiltered answers to whatever I came up with. Um, so
That,
many people try to just, you know, create a formula and follow that to the letter, and I don't like doing that. So uh, I wanted to try something different, and I'm sure that things that you've said tonight have resonated with people, and we're just grateful that you come on and do these things and help as many people as you do. Is there any one last thing or that you would like to leave people with before we end this call?
you know, from a health standpoint, you got to, to me, you need to be on the protocol. How can I say that so confidently? Because 9.3 of us are metabolically broken, and I got 4 different sources that came up with that same number. That isn't us. So I know that most of you watching need this. But as much as I want to say that, I know how financially broken most people are, and they don't know what they're going to do, and they got to work. They got to work till it's the last day. And I want people to know that this is going to spread all over this country. There won't be anybody that doesn't know what this is. You'll be walking into a Dunkin' Donuts, and they're going to have a box of these that you're probably going to pay a couple bucks for one of them, and it'll just be everywhere because people get rid of type 2 diabetes and all the other symptoms of insulin resistance all the time, every day. So why wait another week or month or a year if you're contemplating it? Because you could have a whole team of people talking about it, building your recurring income. If that doesn't matter to you, if you don't like that, you don't have to. 90% of the people are just customers. But those of us that get it, I had a motel and an internet marketing firm. I would not go back to that. It's way too much work for not enough money. And this is, I live my life the way I want, when I want. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Thanks, everyone. If you got any questions, reach out. Have a good night.
Go ahead, buddy.